For this segment, goals were easy to come by, but not so for any sweet victories. Just one in particular. And also, if you're a Nashville Predators fan, stick around, there's one player that you might want to keep an eye on for your future of your franchise. Anyway, time to put the light clearly back on our junior hockey team, as it's time for another episode of Welcome back to another episode of my Calgary Hitmen in 6. It's Brett Hornby here. It's where I do regular recaps of the Calgary Hitmen. I also do recaps that I've done for the Calgary Flames, also the Calgary Stampeders with my Calgary Stampeders this month, and also there'll be my Calgary Roughnecks this month when the cross season starts in December. So anyway, if you enjoy that, plus all my other sports takes or scenery videos or musical acts, or I'll throw in a personal vlog here and there. Just make sure you hit like, subscribe. But right now, we're up to episode 4 of my Calgary Hitmen in 6. This time we'll be concentrating on games 13 to 18 of the 2018-19 WHL regular season. And, they definitely been started slow. This last episode, they won a few games in overtime, and now this video, they have no problem scoring goals, but it seems to be keeping them out of the net. That seems to be the Achilles heel so far for the Calgary Hitmen. But another thing I'm also going to do, which I decided I'll just do in this episode, as opposed to make a separate video of, is I'll give my personal review on Calgary Roughnecks Night, because I actually personally went to that game, and after I go over the summary of that game and my recap, I'll give my review on how Roughnecks Night went and how the whole experience went, and it's just something that we should do in hockey games going forward. So let's bring up my notes here. So once again, I've gotten used to now doing this on Google Docs as opposed to scribble everything down. It's much more convenient to do it on the go. So if you're a Google account user, most likely people are, check out Google Docs. It's basically doing a word process on the go, and syncs with your drive and all your devices. So before we get into the games here, I figured from the top here, actually there was a couple trades that happened in this segment here. Basically moving assets out, as all trades are. Maximizing, turn on a couple assets that either one case moves closer to home, and another just to pick up some draft pick for, pick up some scoring, or just to stockpile draft picks, which is never a bad thing, especially if you have players that aren't being played as much or get closer to home. But the first trade that the Calgary Hitmen made, this happened on October 30th, 2018, so make note of the dates here, because some of these players I'll talk about while they're still Hitmen, and another case where I'll talk about when they make their debut with the Hitmen. So the first trade is that the Calgary Hitmen got a 2020 6th round pick from the Saskatoon Blades for Zach Huber, which forward is Zach Huber, he's from Saskatchewan, but basically the gist of this trade was, if you read Jeff Chanel's quote here, is that it was basically to make room for Bryce Batter up front when he gets back in the lineup. So, it's basically get a younger player in. And then on the next day, on October 31st, the Calgary Hitmen acquired James Malm, if I said his name right, and a 2020 conditional pick from the Vancouver Giants in exchange for Tristan Nilsson, who Tristan Nilsson hasn't played at all. Haven't seen him play at all so far with the Hitmen, and he was just a spare forward. And the beauty with James Malm is, at the time when he got traded from the Giants to the Hitmen, he was their leading scorer, and as you'll find out later in this video, he provides some immediate offensive pop here, which definitely the Calgary Hitmen has plenty of that. So anyway, now let's actually get to the recap part of this video. So let's rewind all the way back to Game 13. This happened on Tuesday, October the 23rd. The Calgary Hitmen were taking on the Red Deer Rebels at the MX Centrium. That was a 7 p.m. puck drop. Excuse me. The Calgary Hitmen lost this one 3-1. It was a 2-1 game for the Rebels after the first, and it stayed that way until the Rebels potted an empty netter to make it 3-1. One thing that we can highlight here for the Hitmen is that Igor Zambula scored a goal. First of the season, and for the Rebels, Alexander Alexeyev, if I said his name right, apologize. He had 2 goals for the Rebels, so this was definitely another tough loss. The Red Deer Rebels have actually been flirting in the top 10 CHL rankings here the last couple weeks, so definitely strength of the schedule here. So afterwards, the Calgary Hitmen, after they went on the road do that Prairie road trip, they went home for the next few games here. So Game 14 happened on Friday, October the 26th. They took on the Lethbridge Hurricanes at home here at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and this was the Roughnecks Night. And it very coincidentally, it turned out to be a wild lacrosse high-scoring game. The Calgary Hitmen, where the Calgary Roughnecks was promoted this night. And what they did in this game is that they simulated a Calgary Roughnecks game where they had music playing throughout the game, as opposed to just in between puck drops. And then he used the same gold song, which was Clutch, Electric Worry. Definitely heard a lot of Bang 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 and Vatimos Vatimos. If you've ever been to a Roughnecks game, and the PA announcer gets a lot more involved here. But this was definitely a wild one, as the Calgary Hitmen lost 7-6 to the Lethbridge Hurricanes. But it was quite an entertaining game. I mean, it was just like a lacrosse game. At one point, the Hitmen actually were down 5-2 in the second period, and maybe a goaltending change sparked the rally, because Kyle Skankowski started the game, which he's the California goalie, and Jack McNaughton, who's the rookie, who's actually from here in Calgary, came in relief. And since then, the Calgary Hitmen actually rallied back to make it 5-4, and that was as close as they got, and then got within 1, but they never tied it up or took a lead here. The Lethbridge Hurricanes pulled through late in the third period here, but definitely a lot of things to note here is that the trio Calgary Hitmen had 2 goals each. Caden Eller, Mark Kolestik, and Ryder Korzak had 2 goals for the Calgary Hitmen, added up to 6, and then Jason Joseph scored 2 goals for the Lethbridge Hurricanes. So it was definitely, despite the loss, it was an entertaining night, which I'm going to say, getting to my review of the Roughnecks Night, I think this is a novelty, because it's a nice novelty to promote the Calgary Roughnecks. I mean, the Flames. I mean, I don't own a Roughnecks or a Hitman jersey yet, but at least if I wear Flames, I mean, it's the principal owner of the team. They all play in the Saddledome. It's a nice way to promote the game. I mean, if you see my video where I had the Hitman players come out, they came out similarly to how the Calgary Roughnecks come out. They come out through the Zamboni underneath an oil rig, but the oil rig wasn't going on, but it was probably maybe because of it was an ice service as opposed to a carpeted service for a roughneck game. But they come out similarly. The drill crew was involved in the game. Farley the Fox is the Hitman mascot. Howie the Honey Badger was also out there, so you can see my video on the introduction how that went. And it still was a nice novelty to have the music playing throughout the game, and also some people in the washroom after the game said that they still liked the traditional music play in between the games or in between the plays. But I personally also like to hear the skates grinding the ice, the puck bouncing around, the hits, player interactions, referee. I mean, it was a nice novelty to promote the Roughnecks lacrosse team, and some fans got tickets for the home opener. I had season tickets for the Calgary Roughnecks, and I couldn't beat $5, and I definitely got my $5 worth for that game. Got to sit, section 212 for, no, 226. I was in 212 for the home opener. But I mean, considering how much it costs to go to a movie these days, or, it was definitely well worth the $5 despite the loss. So that was my review on Roughneck Night. Maybe I'd say do it every year. I mean, just have to make sure both teams are aware that this is what's happening in the game, and maybe it was interesting, who knows, maybe someone might comment on, if you played in that game, referee, coach, player, what was that like, being at a hockey game where music was on? Did that change your approach to the game? So I'll invite that out there if you watch this and interested. So anyway, let's get back to the review here, or the recap. So game 15, this happened on Sunday, October 28th at the Scotiabank Saddledome, 4 p.m. puck drop, and I figure out every Sunday home game is all family fun day where I think kids get a discount, and I think there's a chance for the kids to get on the ice after the game. So this time they took on the Saskatoon Blades, another team has been flirting in the top 10 to CHL rankings, and Calgary Hitmen lost this game 5-3 to the Saskatoon Blades. What was interesting when I looked at the scoring summaries, that goals happened quickly, both in the first and the second period, at the 10-minute mark. I think that was just a coincidence. So it was 2-2 at one point, because I know Saskatoon scored first, the Hitmen tied it up seconds later, and then the Hitmen in the second period took a 2-1 lead. Blades tied it up, but then they took a 3-2 lead in the last minute of the second period, and Zach Huber, which happened to be his last game as a Calgary Hitman before he got traded to said Blades at the start of the video, he tied it up at 3, but then Saskatoon pulled away with 7 minutes left in the third and plotted an empty netter, so it was another close loss for the Calgary Hitmen. Lost 5-3 here. So after a jam-packed weekend here, they had during the week off, which that's the way how the schedule actually has worked a lot more this year. I mean, you got to remember these are 16 to 20-year-olds, and we got to balance school and hockey here. So game 16, this is where actually the only sweet victory came for the Calgary Hitmen. This happened on Friday, November the 2nd at the Scotiabank Saddledome, 7 p.m. puck drop. It was definitely another wild game with tons of goals. The Calgary Hitmen actually beat the Medicine Hat Tigers 7-5 here, and actually the Calgary Hitmen never trailed in this game. What to highlight here is Mark Kolesnik had 2 goals and assist. Jay Kriske had a goal and assist. And then the trades that the Calgary Hitmen made, James Malm, who's number 28 for the Calgary Hitmen, had a goal and assist and was named first star of the game, so he made his Hitman debut this game. So now let's move over to game 17 to wrap up the homestand. The Calgary Hitmen played the Red Deer Rebels again. This was a 1:30 puck drop, some afternoon delight at the Scotiabank Saddledome. This was definitely a very defensive game. It was only 1-0, but the Calgary Hitmen were on the wrong end of the shutout here. The Red Deer Rebels won 1-0, but the Hitmen actually outshot the Rebels at a 2-1 ratio here, 34-17. Jeff DeWitt for the Rebels was the only guy that potted the net for the Rebels. Jack Manon had 16 saves in the loss, and Nathan Anders had the 34 save shutout for the Rebels here. So now the Calgary Hitmen, or the next night here for game 18, Sunday, November the 4th, the Calgary Hitmen took on the Medicine Hat Tigers again, and this time the Medicine Hat Tigers got the better of them in the rematch. This happened at the Canalto Center, 6 p.m. puck drop Sunday night. Actually, the Hitmen was down 3-1 at one point after one. At one point in the second period, they were down 5-2 before the rally. They were able to rally back to be down by 5-4, but they fell short. All I can highlight here is that Caden Eller, the the veteran forward 20-year-old forward that they acquired at the start of the year, had 2 goals, and Jake Kriske and Justin Vandelist had 2 assists each. So Calgary Hitmen were 1-5 in this 6-game stand, and definitely are starting to fall behind here in the standings here. But I don't think they have it seems like they can score goals, but sometimes they struggle to keep it out of the net. But then it seems like they have that one game where they can keep out of the net but not score. So it's just been that kind of season for the Hitmen. But we're pretty much a quarter of the way through the season here. We're almost a quarter, almost get to a third here, because there's 68 games in the WHL season. So as I mentioned in the opening, one player I haven't mentioned yet, but I figure I should put the spot on him right now, is this guy's been steady on the blue line here. His name is Vladislav Yeremko from Belarus. He's number 8. And one thing to highlight here is that the Nashville Predators actually drafted him in the past draft, 5th overall, 151st overall in the 2018 entry draft that happened in Dallas this past year. His stats after 18 games, keep in mind he's a defenseman. He has a goal, 10 assists for 11 points, which is pretty solid. That you always hear with a point here, point there. I mean, he's -6, but this team allows more goals and scores. I only has 6 penalty minutes and 35 shots in net, so got to say the National Predators, they got maybe a future here to keep the defense factory alive here, because they definitely have a strong defense right now. So anyway, let's look ahead here for what will be episode 5 when we recap games 19 to 24 here. The Calgary Hitmen will actually be spending some time on the road here, including spending some time in the Pacific Northwest here. So the next game the Calgary Hitmen have is on Friday, November the 9th. The Calgary Hitmen take on the Lethbridge Hurricanes on the road with a 7 p.m. puck drop. And then game 20, which will happen Sunday, November the 11th, the Calgary Hitmen will take on the Kootenay Ice. This will be at home, 4 p.m. puck drop. And then on Friday, November the 16th, game 21, the Calgary Hitmen will be going to Cranbrook to take on the Kootenay Ice, 7 p.m. puck drop. Kootenay Ice is definitely one of the heated rivals with the Calgary Hitmen, so there's a home-and-home series there for a nice rivalry. And then the Pacific Northwest tour starts. Game 22, Saturday, November the 17th. The Calgary Hitmen take on the Spokane Chiefs, and that game starts at 8 p.m. puck drop. And then on game 23, Tuesday, November the 20th, the Calgary Hitmen go over to Everett to take on the Everett Silvertips in Washington State. And then game 24, Wednesday, November the 21st, the Calgary Hitmen take on the Portland Winterhawks at 8 p.m. And then their logo looks almost like the Chicago Blackhawks. But so yeah, the Calgary Hitmen will spend some time in the Pacific Northwest here in the next little while here. And since the game 24 happens on Wednesday, November 21st, episode 5 will actually be probably right in my hotel room when I'm up in Edmonton for the Grey Cup. So I might be really out of uniform here, because I'll be wearing red, but my Stampeder's red, so be prepared for episode 5 that I'll be doing my Calgary Hitmen in 6 from Edmonton in my hotel room wearing my Stampeders gear, but the Flames own all the teams here, so just give you a heads up here. So that's my recap here. So if I move over to the player stats here, I'll just throw out a couple player stats here. Right now, Mark Kolastic is the leading scorer in 18 games. He has 14 goals, 10 assists for 24 points, which leads the team, and he's actually in the top 5 in the league in goals scored. Next is Jake Kriske in 18 games. He has 9 goals, 12 assists for 21 points. And then third in scoring actually is James Malm, the guy who recently acquired from the Vancouver Giants. His point total so far in 16 games, combined with the Giants and Hitmen, he has 10 goals, 7 assists, 17 points. But 3 of those games he only has 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points for the Hitmen. And then Caden Elder, who came from the Swift Current Broncos, actually has played 19 games. He has 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points. 17 of those games was a Hitman, where he has 7 goals and 5 assists for 12 points. And then Vladislav Yarmenko rounds out the top 5, who's the top leading defenseman for the Calgary Hitmen. As I mentioned, 18 games, 1 goal, 10 assists for 11 points. So if you go over to the goaltending, this is where it kind of gets interesting here. I'm not really sure who's the better goalie, because Karl Stankowski has played more games with 11 games. He has a goals against average. Let me bring up one of these stats here for the WHL. When you go into WHL, it cuts out some of the stats that you need for the goaltending. But Karl Stankowski in 11 games, I mean, he's faced 268 shots, allowed 43 goals. His goals against average is .430, and his save percentage is .862. But he's 3-5-2 overall. And then Jack McNaughton, the rookie from Calgary, he's faced 192. He's made 192 saves, 28 goals against. His goals against average is .402 with .873 save percentage, and he's 2-5. But I mean, overall, the Calgary Hitmen are 5-11-2. And if you look at the standings here, that the Calgary Hitmen are actually third from the bottom in the league. They're definitely bottom in the Central Division. Only the Swift Current Broncos and the Regina Pats are behind them, but you know, there might still be time to make up ground here. But we're definitely getting well past the quarter and third mark. But you know, we're talking about 16 to 20-year-old kids here, so not as critical as he would be if this was the Flames. But anyway, that's my Calgary Hitmen in 6 here for episode 4, recapping games 13-18. So if you enjoy everything I do on my channel, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and you know, stay tuned for now that we're into November here. And as I mentioned on my last episode of my Calgary Stampeders this month, the road to the Grey Cup is on, so watch out for my game previews for the semi-final games, the Eastern and West semi-finals, and same with the finals and the Grey Cup itself. And you know, keep always a lookout for any other videos for personal vlogs or any scenery videos. But you know, if you enjoy everything you do see on my channel, make sure you hit like, subscribe. I've got everything saved in playlists, so if there's any particular videos you want to see or binge watch, it's all right there. So as I always say, I'll see you in the next video for episode 5 of my Calgary Hitmen 6, which will likely be up in Edmonton when I'll be there for the Grey Cup. And hopefully my Calgary Stampeders are there, and third time's the charm that they'll bring it home.